So on September 26th, Tuesday, 2023, Jade Cargill, breaking news. It's being reported that she signed a multi-year contract, and WWE had no shame in posting pictures of her at the Performance Center, walking in and making the deal official. Now, I do know that they've done this for like Dragon Lee, who came from Mexico, and they announced the signing for NXT prior to showing up. But getting the coverage that they have had for Jade and involving ESPN, and it was like a Jade Cargill celebration on social media for WWE today, because not only did they post, like I said, several pictures and videos, they actually had like a bunch of little fun fan questions like, who would you like to see Jade face? When do you think she's gonna debut? They were basically sending out feelers. And yes, she's keeping her name from AEW. Now what that means exactly is that she owns the name, more than likely. And when I look at Jade and what she brings to the table, she is 100% a superstar. She is ready to make a splash in WWE, make some noise in the women's division that I feel desperately need another, mega star, not just another worker or workhorse. They needed another star in the making here. And although she is probably, not the best performer just yet, she is super athletic, super charismatic, and really solid in the ring. Now, everyone knows her from her undefeated streak over at AEW, being TBS Women's Champion. She lost 2 matches in a row before exiting after her contract expired. She ended up signing with WWE, and it finally broke the news. So the way I see it, I would handle Jade by putting her in NXT before calling her up to the main roster. People are going to be like, yeah, but people know her. They could do the AJ Styles treatment. I get that. You're right to a degree. People do know Jade from AEW. She already has, a little bit of equity on her brand name. But WWE is a whole different ballgame. Exactly, MGM. Honestly, I wouldn't mind keeping Jade in NXT for a year. I wouldn't say a year. I would want to push her to the moon as fast as I can to capture the momentum and strike while the iron's hot. You know what I'm saying? Because right now, people are talking about how she jumped from AEW to WWE, and you kind of want to play off of that. You want to play off of that vibe that the internet is kind of running with on their own. So yes, I would start her off in NXT, get her accustomed to the traditional WWE stuff, get her feet wet, get adjusted, get comfortable. And then after being there for a couple months, which honestly, we're at the end of September. So keep her there for all of October, all of November, all of December. You're looking at 3 full months, and then majority of January. So it's like almost 4 months at that point. And you have her debut on the main roster at the Royal Rumble. So the way I see it is that you give her about 3 to 4 months in NXT, Royal Rumble debut like AJ Styles, and boom, the audience from the WWE universe will be familiar with who she is. They will know that she is already, a major star who was reported across all over social media, ESPN, and if they continue to cover her rise in NXT the way they covered the fact that she signed with WWE, I think that this is the perfect way to set her up, a lot faster than most. Look at Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa was in NXT for a couple months. They needed him on the main roster for bloodline purposes. They called him up, and he's been on the roster for over a year now, and he's been handled pretty darn well. I think Jade can be used in a similar light, where they make her feel and look dominant, and they're able to carry over some of her characteristics from AEW into WWE's world. But you kind of have to establish that in NXT for the fans, I would say. What up, Sins? So, to me, that's the best route. You don't gotta have her there for a whole year, 2 years, or whatnot. Just have her there enough time to get adjusted to the way WWE does their thing. And once she's kind of going, put her in some nice stories where you can ultimately have a seamless transition to the main roster via the Royal Rumble. Remember, the Royal Rumble is kind of a struggle for the women's division. They always bring back women that they let go, even Mickie James being in TNA, so they brought women from other companies. They brought in, people from NXT, from the main roster. They just kind of bunch up as many as they can because there's just not that much history with the women's division to be bringing in these outside sources, if you will. At the end of the day, I think Jade is going to make a massive splash instantly. So bank off of that, all right? I know everyone's saying that the dream match is Bianca versus Jade. That's inevitable. I just feel that WWE shouldn't rush into it just because people are anxiously waiting for that showdown. And look, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I said it earlier in this same exact segment. I like Jade. I think Jade is she is a star, already a star, and a star in the making in terms of what WWE loves. But I think she needs to train just a bit. So have her in NXT, Royal Rumble, and voila, a star is born. Who do you think Jade is going to go up against first if she goes to NXT, or first if she goes to the main roster? Another name Laddie put was Rhea. That's another person that's been tossed around. I wouldn't put Rhea and Jade in the same ring just yet because that means that she'd be going for the title ASAP. So kind of wait a little bit on that and wait a little bit. Again, build her stock up, kind of piggyback off of her success in AEW and go from there. No need to rush. No need to get desperate. The women's division is in good hands right now with Io Sky being the champion on SmackDown, Rhea being the champion on Raw. You got Nia Jax back in the mix over at Raw. So we lost Ronda Rousey, but we added Nia Jax and Jade Cargill. In my opinion, I think it's an exciting time for the women's division because we're not just depending on farming the ladies that are in NXT to call them up. Now, Tiffany Stratton is one that is already looking like she's almost ready for the main roster, if not already, ready to roll. But what I'm trying to say is Zoe Stark, yes, she's another good one worth mentioning. So, you had Trish in the mix. You built up Zoe Stark. We got to keep the ball rolling. You don't want to forget about these other women. Chelsea Green, who got kind of squashed like a bug by Nia Jax. But, I kind of get what they were trying to do with Nia Jax. She's a monster among the women, and they're trying to project that. So add Jade into that, that mix-up at the Rumble, and I think that's the recipe for success. So enough rambling. Who do you think Jade should go up against? Let me know down below. Jade Cargill is all WWE.